Have you ever met someone who left a lasting impression on you, yet you couldn't quite pinpoint what it was? Maybe it was the way they spoke, their energy, or even the way they made you feel. It's not always about the grand gestures or loud declarations. Sometimes, the most memorable connections are those that are subtle, quiet, and unexpected. In life, we often overlook the power of leaving a mark without leaving a trace. It's not about making a scene or over-explaining yourself. It's about creating an impression that lingers long after you're gone. Let's explore how we can make an impact by simply being present, and why sometimes saying less can leave the most profound mark. 1. Let your actions speak. Your actions speak louder than words. Think about it. How often do we hear someone say one thing, but their actions tell us something completely different? We all know people like that, right? People who talk a big game, but don't back it up with anything meaningful. Now, imagine you're the opposite. Every action you take, every decision you make, reflects your true values and goals. That's when people start to really see you. You don't have to say much because your authenticity is clear. When you act with purpose and integrity, it's like you're communicating without saying a word. Isn't that the kind of person you want to be? Someone who is known for their honesty and reliability? Here's the thing. Living with intention makes you magnetic. It's not about telling everyone how great you are or what you stand for. It's about showing it. You know how there's always that one person who seems to have a quiet confidence. They don't boast. They don't need validation. Their actions do all the talking. That's power, my friend. Ever think about how your actions impact those around you? Imagine a leader who doesn't need to say, "Follow me," because their actions already lead the way. Or someone who simply helps others without expecting anything in return. What do you think that does to their reputation? It builds trust. It builds respect. It leaves a lasting impact. You want to be that person, right? The one whose integrity stands out, not because they're shouting about it, but because they're living it. If you want to make a real difference, start by focusing on what you do, not just what you say. Ask yourself, when you make decisions, are they in line with your true values? Are they helping you become the person you want to be? Because when your actions align with your goals, the world will notice. It's the most powerful way to communicate who you are. The cool thing is, you don't have to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Every small act of kindness, every time you show up for others, every time you stay true to your values, it adds up. It shows the world exactly who you are. Isn't that incredible? So, what's one thing you can do today to make your actions speak louder than your words? Whether it's making a decision that aligns with your values or being kind when no one is watching, start showing up in ways that make people take notice. Let your actions speak, because they tell a story that words never could. And trust me, when you live with intention and authenticity, you'll be amazed at how much more meaningful your connections become. You'll be the person everyone respects, not because you told them how great you are, but because you showed them. So, are you ready to let your actions do the talking? 2. The power of ambiguity. The power of ambiguity. It's something we don't often talk about, but when used right, it can transform the way we connect with others. Have you ever met someone who just intrigues you? You can't quite put your finger on why, but you're drawn to them. Maybe it's because they don't spill everything about themselves right away. They leave just enough mystery to keep you guessing. That's the magic of ambiguity. It creates a sense of allure, a curiosity that keeps things interesting. Think about it. In our relationships, if we reveal everything up front, what's left to discover? What's left to spark the imagination? By holding back just a little, you leave room for others to wonder, to ask questions, and to become invested in learning more about you. It's not about being secretive or playing games. It's about creating a space where curiosity thrives. When you hold back just enough, people start to crave knowing more. Isn't that the kind of interaction you want? One that keeps the other person engaged, constantly wanting to uncover more? This doesn't mean you're being deceptive, though. Ambiguity isn't about tricking anyone. It's about sharing just enough to spark interest, then letting them fill in the gaps. For instance, instead of telling someone all the details about your weekend, why not say, "It was unexpected, and I ended up learning something new"? Doesn't that sound like an opening for a deeper conversation? You've said just enough to keep their curiosity piqued. It's like dropping breadcrumbs, little hints that lead them to want more. Here's another example. Imagine someone asks about your travels. Instead of listing every country you've been to, how about sharing one interesting story and leaving it at that? You're creating intrigue, a feeling that there's more to your adventures that they need to hear. And trust me, people love to feel like there's more to discover. It makes every conversation feel dynamic, like a mystery unfolding, one clue at a time. But here's the key. Balance is everything. If you're always ambiguous, it can become frustrating. The goal is to add layers of curiosity while still being authentic. When you reveal just enough, you create a connection that feels exciting and unpredictable. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're engaging, but not giving away everything at once. So next time you're in a conversation, ask yourself, how can you leave just enough mystery to spark their imagination? Whether it's through a clever comment, a knowing smile, or a pause that invites questions, allow some space for curiosity to grow. After all, ambiguity, when done right, is a powerful tool that keeps the connection fresh, exciting, and full of potential. And let's not forget, it's all about authenticity. The best kind of mystery is one that feels real, one that comes from a place of genuine intrigue and confidence. When you embrace ambiguity, you're not hiding who you are. You're inviting others to get to know you, layer by layer. It's a game changer for any relationship. 3. Planting thoughts. Planting unforgettable thoughts. Have you ever had a conversation where something someone said stayed with you long after it ended? It wasn't just the words they spoke. It was the way they made you think, the feeling they left behind. That's the power of planting thoughts that stick. It's not about giving someone a piece of your mind or overwhelming them with ideas. Instead, it's about leaving small, thought-provoking breadcrumbs that invite them to reflect on you and the conversation long after you've parted ways. Picture this. Instead of simply talking about something you enjoy, why not share a piece of the story that sparked your passion? Maybe it's a dish you're perfecting, and instead of just saying, I love cooking, you say, there's a dish I've been perfecting. It's got a pretty interesting backstory. Now, you've sparked their curiosity. You've given them a reason to want to know more. And even if the conversation moves on, that thought lingers, and they'll find themselves thinking about it long after. This technique works because it doesn't just plant an idea, it plants a sense of wonder. People love to think. By leaving them with just enough to question or wonder about, you invite them to reflect on your words. It's like leaving an unfinished puzzle for them to solve. And the best part? The thought doesn't just fade. It stays in their mind, growing over time, creating a deeper connection. Timing is everything when it comes to planting unforgettable thoughts. You don't want to overload someone with too many deep thoughts in one conversation. Instead, pick 1 or 2 moments that feel right, where your comment feels natural, not forced. For example, if you mention a dream of yours, instead of going into every detail, say, I've got something big in the works. I'll share more soon. It's really exciting. Now you've planted the seed of anticipation. The curiosity will grow, and they'll want to know more. But there's also an art to this. It's not just about what you say, it's how you say it. A slight pause before sharing a deep thought or a meaningful look can give your words even more weight. Imagine telling someone about a book that changed your life, and instead of just saying what it was about, you say, there's a part in it that really made me rethink everything. If you ever read it, you'll know exactly which one. Now you've created intrigue, and the conversation stays alive in their mind. This is about making sure that when people think about you, they think about something deeper than just the surface. It's about sharing ideas that resonate, that leave them with a sense of curiosity or insight. It's the difference between a conversation that fades away and one that stays with someone. So, next time you're speaking to someone, think about how you can plant a thought that will linger. What one idea, story, or comment can you leave them with that will make them think about you long after? It's not about overwhelming them. It's about offering just enough to spark their imagination. And when you do this, you're not just leaving an impression, you're creating a connection that lasts. 4. Why less is more? Why less is more? Have you ever been in a conversation where someone just kept talking and talking, and by the time they were done, you didn't even remember what they were trying to say? It happens to all of us. We feel the urge to explain everything to be understood fully, but sometimes the more we say, the less impact our words have. Over-explaining can dilute the power of our message and even leave people feeling overwhelmed. Now, think about the last time someone said something to you in just a few words, but those words stuck with you long after. It wasn't a long-winded explanation. It was a clear, concise point that made you think. That's the magic of saying less. When you get straight to the heart of the matter, you give your words more weight and make them more memorable. It's about finding the balance between sharing enough to engage and leaving just enough room for curiosity. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with information. It's easy to fall into the trap of over-explaining, thinking that we need to justify every idea or detail. But when we step back and simplify, when we focus on the key message we want to convey, we make it more powerful. A few carefully chosen words can create a stronger impact than 1,000 unnecessary ones. Instead of launching into a long explanation about why you love a hobby, for instance, try saying something simple like, "It helps me relax and be creative." This is direct, to the point, and leaves the other person curious to learn more. You don't have to fill in every gap. People will appreciate the space to ask questions if they're interested. And remember, it's not just about the words you say, it's also about how you say them. Pausing, letting your words sink in, can give them even more power. A well-timed pause allows the listener to absorb the message and gives you the chance to assess their reaction, so you know when to continue or when to stop. When you stop over-explaining, you create a sense of confidence. You trust that your message is clear and impactful without needing to justify it over and over again. By mastering the art of saying less, you become more intentional with your communication. You start creating deeper connections by focusing on quality, not quantity. So, the next time you find yourself explaining too much, stop and ask yourself, what's the core message I want to communicate? Trust that this will resonate, and you'll notice how much stronger your connections become when you let your words breathe. 5. Be the challenge they crave. Be the challenge they want to solve. Have you ever met someone who just had that magnetic energy? The kind of person who makes you want to dig deeper, to understand them on a different level? That's the power of being a challenge. It's not about being distant or playing games. It's about creating curiosity that keeps people engaged, excited, and wanting to discover more. When you're a challenge, you don't reveal everything at once. Instead, you leave little clues, moments that make others wonder, what's their story? People are naturally drawn to mystery, to things that aren't immediately obvious. They want to figure it out. And when you embrace that, you create an aura of intrigue that people can't resist. Being a challenge doesn't mean you're hard to approach or cold. Quite the opposite. It's about balancing your independence with just enough openness to make others feel invited to learn more. For example, instead of sharing every detail about your goals or dreams, you might say, "I've got a project I'm really passionate about. I'll tell you more about it when the time's right." This keeps them curious and invested without feeling shut out. At the same time, it's important to be unpredictable. If everything about you is easy to figure out, the excitement fades. By switching up how you communicate or responding in unexpected ways, you keep the conversation fresh and keep others on their toes. Ever noticed how someone's playful challenge or a sharp, witty comment leaves you thinking about them long after? That's the kind of effect you can create. When you have a full life, when you're deeply engaged in your passions, goals, and growth, you become someone others want to invest in. People are naturally drawn to those who have a sense of purpose and independence. You don't need to seek validation from others because you already know your worth. That's magnetic, and it's what keeps people coming back for more. So, don't be afraid to leave some things unsaid, to create a little space for mystery. It's not about being hard to get. It's about inspiring curiosity, connection, and growth. When you become the challenge they want to solve, you're not just creating attraction. You're laying the foundation for a deeper, more meaningful connection. People will want to learn more about you, to keep growing alongside you. And that, my friend, is the power of being the challenge they crave. 6. The allure of independence. Have you ever met someone who seems completely self-assured, someone who doesn't need constant validation from others? There's a certain magnetic pull around those who live life fully, confidently walking their own path. It's not about showing off or trying to prove anything to anyone. It's about living in alignment with your own values, goals, and passions. When you embrace your independence, you exude a quiet strength that others can't help but admire. People are drawn to individuals who have their own sense of purpose and self-worth. When you're not reliant on others to feel validated, it creates an undeniable aura of confidence. It's like you've already done the hard work within yourself, so you don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. And that's powerful. It makes you someone others want to learn from, connect with, and be around. Think about it. When someone shows up in your life with a clear sense of direction and purpose, they don't just seem attractive, they seem fascinating. There's someone who has something to offer, someone who's already whole. That's why people want to invest in relationships with those who are independent. You make them feel like they are gaining something valuable by getting to know you. Independence doesn't mean isolation or shutting others out. It means having the confidence to stand alone while still being open to the possibility of meaningful connections. It's about finding balance, knowing that while you enjoy your own company, you're also willing to welcome others into your world, creating a dynamic where both sides grow and thrive. So, if you're looking to elevate the quality of your relationships, start by embracing your independence. Pursue your passions, set your own goals, and trust in your own value. When you do this, others will naturally be drawn to your energy, eager to be part of your journey. After all, people want to invest in relationships that are rooted in strength, mutual respect, and a shared desire to grow. And that all starts with you embracing your own independence. 7. Leaving a mark without leaving a trace. Have you ever met someone who left a lasting impression on you, yet you couldn't quite pinpoint what it was about them that stuck? That's the power of subtlety. Sometimes it's not about being loud or overbearing. It's about creating a quiet presence that lingers long after you've gone. You don't need to leave behind a trail of evidence to be memorable. Instead, you leave behind a feeling, a moment of connection that continues to resonate. It's an art form, really. By saying just enough, sharing just a glimpse of who you are, you give others space to reflect on you in their own way. The absence of a clear answer or defined boundary can actually deepen the intrigue, making the relationship feel more organic and less forced. There's something incredibly powerful in leaving things unsaid, allowing the other person to fill in the gaps. Think about those conversations where you didn't explain everything, but your words made the person think. They might have walked away feeling curious, wanting to learn more, and yet you didn't give them the whole picture. That's where the magic happens. You leave just enough room for them to imagine, to wonder, and to invest emotionally in the relationship. The best connections don't come from over-explaining. They come from creating space for the other person to engage and reflect. Building meaningful relationships is not about being overly present. It's about knowing when to step back and let things unfold naturally. When you leave a trace without leaving a mark, you create a connection that feels real, not contrived. This type of relationship isn't about keeping score or constantly proving your value. It's about letting the relationship evolve in its own time, without feeling the need to force it. Next time you're connecting with someone, try leaving a little mystery, a little space for curiosity. Don't feel the need to fill every silence. Don't rush to explain everything. Sometimes, less is more. Your presence will be remembered, not for the words you said, but for the subtle energy you left behind. And that, my friends, is how you make a lasting impression without leaving a trace. In the end, it's the quiet moments, the subtle touches, and the unsaid words that often leave the strongest impact. By learning how to create meaningful connections without overexposing yourself, you can build relationships that are genuine, long-lasting, and filled with depth. So, next time you engage with someone, remember that it's not about leaving behind a trail of evidence. It's about leaving behind a feeling, a sense of connection that will resonate with them long after the conversation is over. Let your presence speak for itself, and watch how it leaves a lasting impression, without leaving a trace. If you're ready to embrace the power of subtlety, intentionality, and true connection, then hit that subscribe button and join us here at Stoic Toolkit. Let's unlock the secrets of living with purpose and creating lasting impressions without saying a word. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Let's grow together in wisdom and strength.